solution towards the field.
Thank you, Mansoor. And continuing discussion ahead, now I would like to draw your attention to another important topic of our presentation, that is the implementation or application of whatever concept we were trying to present. Basically, as you know, we were working on the shale gas reservoir. Shale gas reservoir means very loose formation, and it was really a tough job and a challenging task for us to find out a case where we could show the results that we are trying to tell you, that our model, the triple porosity model, was in fact better than the double porosity. For that very purpose, we were really lucky enough to get cooperation from Saudi Aramco and some engineers from there, and they in fact shared some of the data of a field. These two models that you are seeing on the screen, one is a slab model of a reservoir rock, that is again a shale reservoir. Second is again modeling of a shale reservoir, but the difference is that one is in the slab form and the other modeling is presented in the cubic form, right? Both of the models were based on dual porosity modeling. They were in fact made by an engineer named Ahmed. And we got the data from him based on dual porosity modeling. And just now we are trying to tell you that how did we induce the data of triple porosity model in the very model, and trying to prove that our modeling and our data was in fact better than those results. That's what the simulator says at least. So gentlemen, before coming to that very model or the very field that I'm talking about, let me tell you a little description about the mathematical calculations that we did. These are some of the formulas that they used, and in fact we used as well, the volumetric and the material balance equations, to find out the volumes, the pressure that were used in the very model or in the very reservoir rock. As you know that when we talk about the triple porosity modeling of especially a gas, the shale gas reservoir, we know that the gas is not present so in a very free state. The gas in such type of reservoir is usually present in two different forms. One of them is usually we call the free gas, or the gas that is present in the fractured space. And second gas is absorbed gas, means a gas that is mechanically attached with those matrix medium. So for that very volume, the volume of the gas to find out, in fact we are finding the last gas in place, total gas in place. For reaching that equation, we needed to find the total volume of the gas, where we have added the Langmuir's volume and the pressure, the Langmuir's pressure, and by getting all the data we got the volume. But here is an important thing. I would like to tell you about this very equation. The compressibility equation. We couldn't use the simple compressibility equation over here just because we had the gas in absorbed form. For that very reason, we used in fact the compressibility of absorbed and the compressibility of free gas as well. Because of addition of that compressibility factor, the normal Z factor that we usually use for the compressibility and general material balance equations, that very Z was also changed. Do you see? You must be seeing here the Z is in fact with a little star over there. This shows that this compressibility is a bit different because of addition of that very absorbed compressibility factor. Applying that very material balance equation with modified Z, we are in fact getting the last equation of G, what we call the gas in place. When we got the results through adding these factors, we were in fact lucky enough to get that the G we got through this data was in fact the same that was in the real data as well. So at least we were so sure for up to now that whatever we are going to do, the mathematical calculation basically match with the real data. Now let us talk about the field case or the reservoir rock that we got as a case study for our thesis. This is in fact the Buriro Shale reservoir rock of United States of America. And the company that is working over there is, it's Saudi Aramco. We have a number of ways to be studied and to be in the literature work that you can see in the book. But I've got a single case over here because of limitation of time, as already Mansoor told you. And over here, if I tell you, this was some of the data that we got from those fields. The Langmuir's volume, the Langmuir's pressure, and the density. And applying those data that I already told you in those equations, we got a simple graph that was showing you it shows a little bit straight line, I mean, what he called the pseudostatic flow. But the lines in the very beginning and the lines in the very ending, I mean the dots, they are basically showing a bit different behavior, or in other words, a bit changed in inclined behavior, right? This is not because of anything else, but because in the very starting, they in fact faced the skin factor, and because of that very reason, the productivity was a bit low. And in the end, the boundary effect, I mean, all those things which are there on the boundary when you are getting the later production, they in fact affect your productivity index. So this is all because of that, but the straight line basically shows the linear flow. If I talk about the data that we were given by the very company or the very field, this is some of the known data where you have the porosity, the permeability, I mean the bale spacing, and all those data that is there in the list ahead of you was given to us, and still we needed some of the data that we assumed for ourselves, I mean the fractures porosity, the micro-fracture porosity, the macro-fracture porosity, and all the data. And still we needed some data actually to find out the later equation that I'll be telling you. And this is some of those data that we found through what we call the NACA iterations. I mean those all calculations with the help of NACA studies. The later on NACA calculations told us, I mean after very, very long iterations that we used to do, this is the final result. All those data are there into the literature work. We are just going to tell you the results that we got. As you are seeing there, in the list of iteration number in the very row, in the first or the second column, you have 18 iterations. We got the results after 18 more iterations, and later on 57, I mean, we almost crossed more than 50 iterations, just to minimize the error factor. And see what the results we got. This very green line in fact indicates the data that we got through our simulator, I mean the data that was totally fitting the reality. If you see, these are the productivity data, right? Field data, I mean the red line that was given to us by the very company that indicated us a graph. And if you see, the green line that we got through iterations is totally overlapping the red line. This shows how close we were through our triple porosity modeling and through those all iterations. Though the data given to us is still somewhat deviating, but the data that fits, I mean the green line that we got through iterations, was actually in the very best idea, I mean that we were thinking of. Both of the graph are showing is one of them is in the simple way, and the second graph is log graph, which shows the long-term index of the production that they used to get. And the amazing thing is that our data was in fact totally matching with the data that we got from the field. And for the next, I mean the concluding parameters, I would like to call my next friend Sahil. Thank you.